Orb on the Movements of the Earth, Episode 10, Truth. That's a huge title. I bet it's tough to do translation for this show, because so many of these words have all these nuances and complexities.
Badeni-san.
Come in!
研究には納屋を使わせてもらう。教会での作業は避けたい。
Okay, understandable. Goodbye.
なんだこれは。
You learned how to read.
文字を勉強しようと思ってヨレンタさんに教わったんです。
He's unlocking the secrets of the universe and the past.
おいおいまったく。何してるんだヨレンタさんは。君のような身分の者に文字を教えるなんて。
What do you mean?
大半の人間が読み書きできないのはいいことなんだよ。文字を扱うというのは特殊な技能。
Okay.
言葉を残すというのは重い行為だ。
Okay, that's interesting actually.
一定の資質と最低限の教養が要求される。
Education, I don't know.
ゴミのような情報で溢れ返ってしまう。
That's a tough sell, right? But I think if you were to make an argument, that is, as far as I can think of, the best argument for it. I mean, I actually think we're seeing some of the negative effects of this not being heated, as was prophesied by the Patriots in Metal Gear Solid 2, of how, like, we live in unprecedented times in terms of people being able to create words. Content is now infinite, being produced, I was going to say per day, but it might even be like per hour at this point. And this is all happening without anything that is really filtering for or sustaining context or even interaction, right? Like, it's just raw and out there, and anyone can create whatever they want and then find whatever kind of creation they want. So it's just easy enough now to find the things that just confirm what you already believe or what you want to believe. And what exactly are the mechanisms by which we can take all this and like contextualize it into something useful so that there's anything like a common understanding, common ethos. One specific way I notice this is with media. This is just anecdotal to me, but I feel increasingly when people ask me, have you heard of this? Or do you know this artist? Or have you seen this show? Not only have I probably not, but more often than not, I feel like I don't even know what they're talking about. Like I've never even heard of it. And I feel like that's a pretty recent thing. Even like 5 years ago, I definitely hadn't seen everything, but generally I would know what the other person's talking about, right? I'd be like, oh, I've heard of that. Now, like, who knows? Things just seem increasingly niched and scattered and separated in media. And like, I wonder if that doesn't trickle out also into just like worldview, you know, that people would be wildly shocked by hearing things that to someone else is what they take to be just the reality. That is perhaps an issue. So to that extent, I agree with Badeni, at least in assessment of the problem. I actually think the solution probably would be like more literacy and just like a better emphasis on filtration and finding context and like a common set of values at least that might inform what sort of things are consumed and why we consume certain things. And also I think that the truth will win in this case too. This is a challenge appearing in a phase that will create the seeds of its own answer eventually. Because I really do think the truth does win eventually. It's just water flowing downhill.
だいたいなんで君が文字を使える必要があるんだ。
ちょっと
Don't be shy, Axie.
本を書きたくて。
Wow. From 0 to 100. That's amazing though. I love it.
日記みたいなものというか。身元
He's
は明か
seeking.
し
He's
ませ
starting
ん
to
けど
believe.
は
なんか
But then he
今
is
回の
super
件を
offended.
書き出してみたくて。
は
I mean, Axie has a lot to write about.
ちょっと待ってくれ。いろいろ言いたいことはあるんだ。
I'm sure there is. I'm not letting you out of my sight. You must stay in this barn.
ずっと文字も読めなかった君がなんで足がつくかもしれん危険まで冒してここ数ヶ月のことを書き出したくなるんだよ急に。
It's Yolenda's influence.
どうせ君は
Yeah,
まともな
admittedly, it
文
could
章
be
は書けんだろう
dangerous.
し書けても完成したら私が燃やすから勝手にしたまえ。
Antagonistic.
こ
I
れ
mean,
以上
safety is one
私
concern.
までおかしくなりそうだ。
The writing is
我
another.
が退出してくれるか。
He's on the verge of throwing up again. All this peasant talk. I don't know. There's something really heartwarming to me about Axie wanting to write a book. Not even the specifics of that project. Just his change as a person, you know? Like, that is something open and explorative and, like, seeking. It just feels like he's opening himself up to the world and experience and that, like, things actually can be good and, like, the world can be beautiful. And he's here in the world and he might as well, you know, try some stuff with it. He might try to push himself and learn new things and maybe even contribute something one day. To dare to dream of that.
クラボフスキさん、虹ってなんで出るんですか？
それはね、
Because God,
雨に
yes.
耐えたみんなを神が祝福してくださってるからだよ。
Don't ask any questions.
なんで虹ってあんな色してるんで
That's
す
too many
か？
questions.
と、
That's because God
それは
likes colors
そ
for
の
yes.
バデーニさん、
What the hell? He's just tired. He's been working really hard. He's fine. He's just sleeping in here. This is why he has to work in the barn, all these constant interruptions.
虹がなぜあんな色をしてるか知ってます？
The
さ
God
っ
line
き
didn't
子供
work?
たちから質問されたんですが、答えられなくて。
それ タダで教えろと
This is gonna cost you. My services are not cheap. He could have solved this whole problem with a simple I don't know. I don't know, kids. Why don't you go ask Badeni? He's in that room over there.
わかりました。
What you got?
では追加の紙とインクを手配します。
Not bad.
光と大気が特殊な仕方で結合し虹のさまざまな特色性を全体にしろ部分にしろ作り出すこともあるとか
Oh?
そしてこの時生じた光がさらに反射するがために周囲の大気が
Is this
その異
it?
なった部分に
Is this
光の照射を受け
Whatever. It's good enough to answer those snotty kids.
どうやって子供たちに説明したら伝わりますか？
知りません
That's on you, yeah. Just whatever you say it confidently and the kids will clap.
ルクレティウスは読んだことあります？エピクロス主義者の。
ええまあ
Maybe this is about to get interesting.
何を隠そう私、ルクレティウスが読みたくて修道院に入った
Oh,
ところ
wow.
もあるんで
Oh,
す。
maybe we have more in common than we're allowing.
もちろん私も教会の役に立てるために興味を持ちましたよ。
But then he's like, how long do I need to stand here and listen to this peasant talk? We're gonna get back to my work.
ルクレティウスの詩は何とも感動的だと。当然異教徒の書
Oh,
いた
this
もので
directly
すから
relates to the Oxy
警
thing.
戒はしてますよ。読んだことがあるのならどんな内容かぜひ一節だけでもご
お断
Hungry
りし
for
ま
knowledge
す
too. Why? Because he's a pagan?
波の人間が欲すると悲劇を招きかねない
This is a much bigger thing than what he said to Oxy.
そもそもそれを扱うのにふさわしい資格を持ち合わせていない普通の人に知識なんて必要ないでしょ
That's too bad.
そんな
That is not in the spirit of the exploration we've been doing. Again, though, it's not like there's nothing to this. Firstly, putting aside any judgment on it or like how should we handle it, I think it often just does break down this way. To really understand complex things, it's just going to take a lot. There are just a lot of pieces and there's so many pitfalls and ways you can go wrong that you need to fall into a bunch of times and then do the difficult work of getting yourself out of the hole you've fallen into and learning more and adapting and revising. Some people never get out of the hole, but like for a lot of things, most people don't even want to go on that journey or they can't go on that journey for everything. So we're just going to be getting shortcuts, summaries that are like good enough to function with and work on a practical level. And we kind of take that bargain, you know, like I don't know for myself really, but like with rainbow stuff, I'm just going to believe what people tell me about rainbows. Recently in Dandadan, Momo talked about worms and how they hate water. And then like that turns out not to be true. Worms need water to breathe, which is still tragic, but you know, whatever. Like I have a workable, functional knowledge of enough stuff that I can live my life successfully. I mean, I think this only is really a problem when we don't acknowledge that that's the case for a lot of things and we become self-appointed experts of things without actually having done that deep dive, that work. And not only that, like fighting to enforce it and doing it with no humility, etc., etc. There are a lot of problems with this though. Obviously, one of them is the classic who watches the Watchmen. I mean, I am absolutely convinced that someone being thought of as an expert and having expert credentials optimistically correlates with some sort of veracity, but definitely doesn't guarantee it. The other is that if really important ideas are specifically tailored and designed for mass production, what that often means is that it will be stripped of its nutritional value because we can't afford to go deep, high nutrient value for each individual person when we're trying to get this to as many as possible, right? We just strip it of its elements, minimum viable product, and we send it to everyone we know. The church is probably an example of this, right? Like the best people in the church who really care about what it stands for are at heart philosophers concerned with the meaning of life in the universe and service to mankind. But what it ends up becoming, things that seem like very oversimplified messages of like, do everything I say without question or die, burn in fiery hell. The original spirit is lost and like then it gradually loses people and you get to the point where the church feels ridiculous and archaic and confused. It's weird that Badeni is saying this. He's not at a super high level. He's been demoted, but he is clear that the truth is something that he has to pursue. So clearly he knows that it's not like rank.
では
I said good day.
まったくバデーニさんの態度には困る。
He's not exactly the world's greatest people pleaser.
そう考えたらバデーニさんにもバデーニさんの役割がある。気に食わないからって
Taking the high
隣
road.
人にこんなに怒るなんて
That's big of him.
求める必要など。
クラボスキさん
What do you want, Father Grabowski?
すみません。ぼーっとしちゃって。
So much for helping them.
忙しく働いてくださってる証拠で
He's
す、
clearly well liked. There's been a couple moments of this in the show so far. I like how these characters go down this road that is the obvious road, and I can feel it, right? I can agree with it. But then they kind of catch themselves and they try to take the better faith position. This happened with Jolenta when she was blaming the dude she works for. Like, yeah, you can like hate Badeni. I mean, I think Badeni is sort of rude, but Badeni is Badeni, and he does have his gifts. He is giving his everything to the pursuit of something.
ああそういやみんな知ってるかいバデーニさんの顔の傷の話
Also, Badeni has very direct experience getting hurt in the pursuit of knowledge.
その親友に研究成果を盗まれたらしいんだ
Okay, this explains
驚くのはここからだよ
of his suspicion.
バデーニさんは生きてる
Wow.
つまりその決闘で仲の良かった友人を殺したってことさ。あの傷はその時できたものなんだと。
Okay, well, wait, I guess this could be true. He lost his eye. He was already scarred when we first saw him, right?
そんな話誰から？本人からだよ。傷のことを聞いたら教えてくれた。
Doubt. I don't think Badeni would tell you anything.
バデーニさんには今まで通りこもっててもらいましょう。
Interesting. Very interested in Father Grabowski all of a sudden.
なぜそんな悲劇を味わったのに学問とか研究とかそういうことから離れないんですか？
神が人間に与えてくださった可能性を自ら放棄したくないからです。
That's a very interesting answer.
あなたが持っている行き過ぎた好奇心や必要以上に多くを知ろうとする欲望には際限がない。
You buried unnecessary in there, didn't you?
非道徳的なことまで知ろうとするようになる。
すでにこの世は非道徳的なことで溢れ返っていませんか？そういう世界を変えるために
Well, he's opening up to him and
何
sharing
が
with
必
him.
要だと思いますか？知です。
Truth. There's a bunch of interesting stuff in this conversation. Firstly, Grabowski's question of why do you persist with research and knowledge even after such tragedy? The weirdness of that question notwithstanding, Badeni's answer is interesting to me in a very personal way because I don't want to discard the potential that God provides us. I've sometimes thought that maybe that is the scale by which to evaluate someone's life. It's not necessarily any specific outcome or path, but more like we're given an opportunity and a chance at life. And if you believe in anything like an inherent beauty of the world and existence, if you believe that there is anything remotely resembling some sort of value scale that exists before humans that humans can tap into, then since it's such an honor and a privilege to be part of that, the cost is that we have a responsibility to do the best we can with what we are, what we have in that system for that system, which for us probably just means like for our fellow man. And that's it, you know, just do your best. There are a ton of things that are different, you know, circumstances are different from person to person, but make the most of what you have. In that, I also think it's important not to waste time beating ourselves up about the inevitable imperfection of that, right? Like, let's say somehow we can quantify our score towards potential. There is a highest possible score that we will never reach. And that's fine. It's just sort of a guideline. It's sort of like how some traders with the stocks they trade, they calculate the max score based on the highest potential profit they could have made if they had exactly the right timing and exactly the right sizing. And like, you're 1 cent off, you've missed that forever. Like, for the entire duration of your trading career, you'll never achieve perfection again. So like, it doesn't make any sense to worry about it. And maybe this is more clear just like not being on the other side, you know, not giving it a total nihilism and despair and not making things worse, not trying to take yourself down or other people down around you. Worrying about all the ways you failed and messed up actually probably is yet another detractor from the pursuit of realizing your potential, because what good does it do? So I mean, I think it requires having a generous spirit for yourself. Next, but then he puts forward truth as the answer to the immorality of the world, which is a really intriguing thought. And my interpretation of this is that, like I've said before, the truth almost inevitably will win, because what is truth in the first place? It's like just the reality of the things that are happening. And if we assume there's a goal, I mean, any goal, just in reality, some things are going to work better towards that goal than others. And the things that do not work are going to sort themselves out as not working. They're just going to eventually fade, where the things that work will continue because they work. There's perhaps some sort of axiomatic underpinning of this that's like evolution or natural selection, but at a much more general scale. And we can certainly entertain untruths and we can go down the wrong path, but given enough time, things will land in the right spot and then they'll stick because those are the things that are best in line with the reality of what works. This is a stupid example, but let's say you're shooting a basketball and you need a certain amount of points to win this solo game. You can certainly miss and you can throw the basketball in the opposite direction and like waste time. But imagine if you had unlimited time and unlimited shots on goal. Even with all your mistakes, even with just random flailing around on the court, eventually enough basketballs are going to the basket where you're going to win and progress to the next stage. So like, it's almost a certainty that it will happen. It's just a question of like when it will happen and also how much waste there will be along the way. And it would be kind of nice if there wasn't that much waste and we could like just get there immediately if that's the end point anyway.
知か。
Grabowski shook.
明日から地下通路を掘ってくれ。
To where?
納屋と教会をつなぐものだ。あと、いざという時の
Oh, that's thinking ahead. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, this has been too peaceful lately, this show.
その仕事と引き換えにって言っちゃなんですが。
What did you think this was going to be free? What was it Badeni said to Grabowski? You expect me to tell you for free? I need ink and paper.
行ってみろ。
I want to learn stuff.
配給のパンを
Oh,
増やしてもらえませんか。
Also have sufficient food.
貧民に与える分を増やすためだ。
Oh.
気づか
Oh,
ないとで
after
も
they
思
told
った。
him it
こっそ
wasn't
り
worth
分け
it.
与えてたんだろう。前にも言った
What
が
a
無駄だ
sweet
ぞ
man.。
それで天国に近づくとは限らない。
But that's not necessarily why you would do it. And it's also sort of like, who cares? At a certain point, why even draw a distinction, you know? Like, if you're just doing like nice things for people, and you're fine doing nice things for people, and you don't expect anything from those people, you don't get angry when you don't have reciprocity, you're just doing it because you think it raises your heaven score, like, whatever, you know? You can imagine there might be some negative things that would often stem from that, you know, like being holier than thou, I'm so much better than you, I give my bread to the poor, or the aforementioned gift in expectation of reward. Those things are those things separately in and of itself. If you're doing great things for the anticipation of heaven and you feel genuinely that's the right thing to do and you've identified what actually is good to do for heaven, knock yourself out. I don't know. It's that classic idea of there is no such thing as an unselfish action. It's just a matter of degrees and what the negative externalities of it are.
これでもダメか
I'll bet right when he's on the cusp of figuring it out, they're gonna get caught.
なんだこのネックレスオークジー君の
Sort of. It goes way back. The legacy is still alive.
楕円か
The necklace strikes again. Wow. And that's when he got caught. That's when he busted in. And the tunnel's not even built yet. Oh, you're in danger now. Oh yeah, get out the peasant. Get it all the peasant thought.
Yoshi.
He's pumped up. He's gotta feel great. Take care of your circle drawing hand though.
神様
Oh no, this is such a risky moment.
この方
Don't
法
get
で
arrogant.
進めればしっかりと検算し論文として整形して
You can taste it. It's so close.
これはオクジー君の書いてる本とやるかまったく貴族でもないのに寄付したり知識階級でもないのに執筆したりやはり世俗の者が考えることはわからん
Oh, seems like he likes it. Looks like you're into it. And Badeni giving to the homeless.
いつも髪を結んだ大男がパンを与えてるだろう
For information.
その代わりちょっと貸してほしいものがある
This circle of deals.
あれいつもより多いんですが。
私は小食だったことを思い出
Oh,
し
it's actually charity from Badeni.
明日からも粛々と穴を掘ってくれ
Yeah, you're gonna need it. What's the deal with the dude though?
オクジー君今日から
We're
あの
finished?
前に戻っていいぞ終わった
What, I have a bad feeling about this all of a sudden. This definitely reminds me of Vinland Saga.
地動説が完成した
Wow. For real? I can hardly believe it. Now what?
こんにちは親愛なる兄弟たちよ知っての通り諸君らは今日から異端審問の
Oh,
職に
great.
就く
Wonderful.
数百年前西ローマ崩壊後社会は秩序を失った
There was that trend recently of like, how often does your boyfriend think about the fall of Rome? It does seem to come up a lot. I mean, there actually might be something here connected to the whole like commoners shouldn't read and write thing from Badeni, and also what I was saying earlier about context, where there likely is some value to strong group cohesion and like just a common set of ideals and principles that everyone believes in. There's an interplay between these things, and I think the challenge is always finding a balance, and going too far in any direction is an issue, and the two sides need each other in sort of like this yin-yang struggle. There is strength in uniformity and cohesion and like having zero doubt and just having rigid rules that you must follow. That also can get corrupt. It's stale. It goes wrong. It gets diluted over time, and then we're just adhering to things because it's the rules as opposed to for what they actually originally meant. And then the new, the novel, the seeking, the nuanced, when done right, that is discovery. That's probably closer and closer to truth, since the world is just complicated, and it's just likely that to explain things resolutely, you'll need a lot of nuance. But you risk drowning in irrelevancy, losing that cohesion, everyone running in just random, separate, conflicting directions. It's probably always going to be a struggle between the poles.
混乱と暴力がはびこり権力が生まれては消えバラバラな人類を統一する術はなか
Yeah,
った
there it is, the uniting.
そんな狂気の沙汰に唯一希望の光を照らしたのが
Geocentrism.
我々の帰依する教会だ社会に文化と道徳を布
And
教
if you
し
let anything fail, everything fails. Relinquish nothing.
この素晴らしき行いに文句をつける者がいようか驚くことに
It's a solid
挑んだ
pitch overall.
それこそが異教異端者だ
They seek to undo everything we've built, everything we've worked so hard for.
履き違えた自由を謳い道徳や倫理を砕き救いと希望を放棄し人々を分断する
Right, yeah.
我々は彼らを異端者を救わねばならん
Through death, we're going to significantly expedite their burning in hell. See, I told you hell was real.
彼らの魂は死後地獄へ行くこ んな悲惨なことはない。
It's making me so angry.
二度とそんな時代を訪れさせるわけにはいかない。その責任がある。家族のため、未来のため、信徒のため、そして異端者のため、
It's for their sake.
全人類を救ってくれ。
When you put it like that, sign me up. I also want to save humankind. I want to be a savior.
ちょっと意識が甘かった反省
You
し
don't
な
understand the stakes, man.
僕も
All of humanity is at stake in society and your
弱音を
children.
吐いてる場合じゃないよな。
And the heretic souls. We gotta save the heretics.
おーい
Oh, it's a veteran.
君らの実習を担当する
Learning from the
ノバクだ
best.
よろしく
Scary. Man, it's so crazy. It would be really easy to kind of just like put this in a little box of like, wow, these heathens of the past, how stupid they were and how enlightened we are. But I don't know if this phenomenon is really all that different now. It just changes shape, right? Like, this is the threat to society. If we give any credibility or any credence to anything other than what I already rigidly believe, everything we know and love will be ripped to pieces. And so we must destroy the enemy. We must destroy the dissenters. I would guess that a lot of people who are deeply entrenched in one side or the other to that point of like emotional fervor likely hold a similar idea about some group in the present. And it's really difficult because as humans, we are wired first and foremost for avoiding calamity. And it's not totally wrong or it's not completely inconceivable. There is an inherent danger always to any given side of that spectrum between tradition and the new, among many other sorts of dichotomies. To try to take some elements of his argument in good faith, one of the dangers of the novel is that if we have a very well-established tradition, it probably came about because it was essential at one point to get humanity through a very difficult period or a very particular problem. And it was so good at solving the problem that we fully embraced the practice and made that into a tradition that we cherish. Fast forward a couple generations, like his speech with the Rome thing, no one was around for the problem that the tradition solved. So no one is aware of the danger of it. And yet it's very clear what the limitations of the traditions are because those are very apparent now, or they just look stupid because what's the point of this tradition when we don't have this problem? And so the forward-looking, the people focused on novelty, only seeing the negative repercussions of this practice, not seeing the greater danger that it protects them from, want to start chipping away at it or undoing it, not realizing the potential calamity that might unfold. I mean, I think that's a real danger. I'm like fully sympathetic to that, but all of these things are true at once, right? Like the world is not the same anymore. There are still problems and those problems need to be addressed. Sometimes traditions that have gotten us to this point, while we can be grateful for them, are outdated and are doing more harm than good now. There's no easy answer. That's the issue. That's why this problem will just repeat again and again throughout history until there's some just major cataclysmic systemic shift in what humanity is so that this will no longer be a relevant problem. And maybe the answer is truth. And what I mean by that is not trying to sugarcoat it for comfort or for ease of understanding. We actually have to get in the weeds and look at the nuance of it. It's important to understand both sides of that spectrum as being valuable and seeing the interplay between them. There's no point vilifying others and doing terrible things just to squash voices that we're not comfortable with. It has to be hashed out again and again, over and over, with the best possible faith we can muster, with all the strength that we have at our disposal, with no end in sight, with no guarantee of success or avoidance of calamity, not giving into fear, not giving into knee-jerk reactions, not vilifying people just because their positions make us uncomfortable, not trying to force everything into a geocentric model when the reality is heliocentrism and is a little bit more complex than we thought. And if that sounds difficult, it is. And that's why we don't want to do that. And it's never ending and we're not going to solve it. But we try to be the best torch we can be. We try to be the best avatars for truth that we possibly can. And we just trust that it will sort itself out in the best way eventually.